In 1976, the Strand Arcade in Sydney was hit by a devastating fire. Despite the damage, restoration work began, and the shopping center was opened again in 1977. It thrives again now, and the more recent image from 2018 shows the Strand Arcade in all its modern glory. In this black and white photo from the 1940s, a throng of German army soldiers can be seen in the occupied city of Schaden, Holland. A mix of civilians also walk the streets, no doubt wary and worried about their surroundings. Many years later in 2018, those same streets are occupied by cars and shoppers going about their daily business without the threat of an occupying force to bother them. This original photo was taken by a captain in the Army Film and Photographic Unit and shows a priest's self-propelled gun outside the Notre Dame Cathedral. This armor was part of the French 2nd Armored Division that had been involved in the liberation of the city in late August 1944, just days after the uprising started by the French resistance. The second, more modern view, snapped in 2017, shows a much more peaceful view of the same spot. Visitors and tourists can now enjoy the peace, quiet, and wonder of the building thanks to the heroic courage of the liberating army all those years before. This photo from 1900 shows the famed Moulin Rouge Variety Theatre, which opened just a year before. This building quickly went on to become one of the most famous theaters in the world. It would play host to not only a variety of spectacular shows and performers, but also would attract people from all over the globe. The second image of the area from 2016 shows the theater in its full glory with an unmistakable red windmill still firmly intact. The surrounding area is not as popular as it once was, but the theater itself still draws a crowd. This original photo, taken in 1932, shows a view high above New York City during the construction of the Rockefeller Center. This image shows a health and safety nightmare that includes workers drinking alcohol while casually resting high above the ground. A modern recreation taken over 70 years later and across the other side of the world shows a slightly safer view of London, with workers in hard hats wearing harnesses to prevent any horrible accidents. In 1910, heavy rainfall meant the waters of the River Seine to burst their banks as levels rose 8 meters above normal. The resulting flooding became known as the Great Flood of Paris and made many of the surrounding roads impassable, except by boat. The flooding also led to over $1.5 billion worth of damage in today's money, but surprisingly, there were no reports of anyone losing their lives during that time. It would take over a week for the flooding to dissipate. A much more normal view of the Seine road shows a calm and dry scene that the people would no doubt have welcomed. Over 100 years have passed and no boatman can be seen on Rue de l'Université. This photo from 1908 shows another view from France, this time of the Mont Street Michael. Over 100 years later, the view has modernized slightly but still oozes history from every angle. A new bridge, roadway, and hydraulic dam designed to protect the bay are the most significant changes in recent years. This first photo dates back to 1900 and shows a view of Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. The U.S. Capitol building is visible in the distance, with a street full of people waiting for the tram service and going about their daily grind. The second photo shows a much more modern view of the same area, snapped in 2016. The tram lines now replaced with cycle paths and multiple vehicle lanes. Taken in 1901, this original image shows a view of the streets of Philadelphia, USA. Workmen are shown laying lines in the road with the magnificent City Hall in the background. In 2018, towering skyscrapers line the same street, with the colors of modern life flashing by. The City Hall still stands magnificently in the center, but it is firmly dwarfed by the tall buildings that have since sprung up in the surrounding streets. An old image from 1889 shows the effects of climate change at the Engebring Glacier in Hollandsjordan, Norway. The original photo shows an almost barren and lifeless landscape of ice, rock, water, and glacial gravel. The same spot captured again in 2010 shows a very different view with greenery and vegetation in the surrounding landscape and far less ice and snow in the background. A bombed-out residential building on the streets of Poland, captured in a photo from 1950, showing a time of misery and tragedy. Decades later, repairs cover up the holes, blemishes, and damage from the past. We wonder if current residents know of the history of their building and all that has passed in the years before. A view of Place de la Bourse captured in 1900. In this original photo, pedestrians and horse-drawn carriages dominated the streets. The first tram lines were starting to spring up around this time, and in the years that followed many more would appear too, with a total of 32 lines present in the area by 1957. The building photographed here made up the stock market of the time and the hub of modernization for the area. The modern view, snapped over 117 years later, still shows a busy street, but now the building is used for exhibitions and art shows. The area is also a popular location for rallies and demonstrations. The horrors of the Great War hit Ypres station in Belgium in 1915. This photo tells of the damage and chaos reigning all around the area at that time. Over 100 years later, the same view looks very different, with the building fully repaired and restored and modern roads having replaced the dirt tracks of years gone by. Life is no doubt far more peaceful too. This original photo of the Eiffel Tower shows it under construction in the middle of 1888. Surrounding buildings can also be seen springing up in the area too. In 2017, the same angle shows an equally busy view of the world. The fully built tower has been visited by many millions of people since its construction, and the tower itself has also survived decades of wear and tear that included 2 world wars and more. Another photograph from over a century before. This image shows the Place du Grand Sablon in the historic city center of Brussels. At this time, the local area was host to market stalls where meat was sold on Friday and milk and cheese on a Saturday. The current view looks more like a parking lot with far less character, but the surroundings are actually extremely popular among the wealthier members of society, with old bars and shops being replaced by chocolate shops, antique dealers, and hotels. In Russia, during the German invasion, the Peterhof Palace was burnt and damaged by explosives. Many of the fountains in the grounds were destroyed too. Restoration began after the war and continued on for the years that followed. The current view of the Peterhof shows the original building in all its magnificent glory. A much more rural photo dates back to 1887 and shows one of many road routes that were thought to be a major feat of engineering at the time. A roadway cutting through the hillside. 116 years later, the road is now tarmacked, but otherwise the same. No attempt has been made to widen the road, despite the cars passing over it. The view is just as wonderful today as it was all those years before. This original black and white photo from the 1940s shows the events of the Anzac Day Parade, a special event held to commemorate all Australians and New Zealanders who served and died in all wars, conflicts, and peacekeeping operations. The same view shows the magnificent Sultan Abdul Samad building hidden behind tourist buses instead of parade participants. The skyline has changed vastly in the 75 years that have passed since taking away some of the beauty. The Russian army caused massive destruction as they swept through Germany and onward into Berlin. The Capitol buildings weren't safe either. The Reichstag building itself wasn't a Nazi monument though. It was actually designed and erected between 1884 and 1894. The building was heavily gutted by the damage, but it wasn't until the 1960s that restoration began in earnest. The modern building seen here has changed a lot as it was again gutted and reconstructed again in the later years. It's now one of the most visited attractions in Germany. The photo from 1900 shows the Pont des Arts, a pedestrian bridge over the River Seine, France. This bridge leads from the Institut de France to the Louvre. As such, The bridge has always been an extremely popular tourist destination and offers a wonderful view of the surrounding area. Here, couples can be seen casually walking the bridge. One even has a sword strapped to his waist. With a romantic view of the city of love, the bridge has always been a favored haunt for couples, and as such, the railings of the bridge were often adorned with padlocks, a romantic gesture of love. The Brandenburg Gate is one of the most well-known landmarks in all of Germany. It was originally constructed in 1791 and built as a monument during the Batavian Revolution. During World War II, the Nazis used the gate as a symbol for their party. It managed to survive the war, but was badly damaged by bullets and explosions as the Russian army moved into the city. Here, a Russian soldier can be seen with a camera standing in front of the monument. The reconstructed gate was used for many memorial services in the years that followed, including the official ceremony to mark the reunification of Germany. As a regular site for major historical events, the Brandenburg Gate has turned into a tourist hotspot and is now considered by many to be a symbol of European peace and unity. The Opera Garnier decorated with swastikas for a festival of German music during the occupation of Paris. The Germans organized a series of concerts in the occupied city. The Palais Garnier Opera House, photographed in 2016, offers a much more peaceful view of Paris. The building is known as probably the most famous opera house in the world, mostly thanks to being the setting for the 1910 novel, The Phantom of the Opera. It also appeared as a centerpiece for subsequent adaptations of the novel into films and musicals.